Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Tonight we're talking mini ponds. It just started raining today, so I didn't get to do much on my mini ponds, but I'm hoping in the next week or two we can really start playing with this outside, me shooting videos. But I thought as a precursor to that, we could do this like Sunday special and get a lot of things out of the way, a lot of the questions, so that way when you see it in video, it will come through and you'll know a little bit about it already and you understand like, oh, that's why he's doing that. Yeah, I remember him talking about that. And so the videos themselves after this in the future should make more sense. So kind of letting everyone pile in. I've got some announcements. First, if you live in Washington, you're close to my store, and you want to help me move in a ridiculously heavy tank, Monday the 22nd, shoot me an email at store@aquariumcoop.com. Still collecting a few volunteers. I want to have a little bit extra backup in case someone's sick or someone can't show up, that type of thing. And I need about 10 people to move that stand in. And then the tank itself, like even if you can only stay for like 30 minutes, you could leave. And then the tank itself is lighter, so we don't need as many people for that. What else do I have got going on? We've got some of these things going on. This is the hashtag FishFam. Let me see if that's showing up right. Yeah, there we go. The FishFam, and we've got the Taco Union, and I've also got one of these that is Aquarium Co-op. And so these are all hand painted, and they're aquarium safe. I've had them in shrimp tanks, stuff like that. I've been testing them for over a month, that type of thing. So if you want to get some cool, I won't say one of a kind because they're not individual, but they're all slightly painted differently because they're hand painted. And it's not anyone local. I do like to support local artists, but it is someone that's an actual artist, and it's not just coming off of a factory line or something. So I think these are kind of cool. They're $9.99 on the website. They're going kind of quick. I don't know how long of a run I'll have going. The sound is so low, Clay Hodges says. I don't know what's going on. I'm not changing anything on my end. And on my end over here, it looks like it's peaking really high. So I'm not sure what's going on there. You know, for me, it looks really loud. But anyway, let's see here. Don't forget we've got the Dutch auction going for the artwork. It's getting down pretty close to where I'm going to be buying it maybe. We've got a little bit of time left before it gets to the point where I know I'm going to buy it and donate that money to the Amazon Research Center. What else? I was going to take you guys on the website real quick. I've been changing a lot of things. And so let me pop over there. We're going to hit this button. That's the wrong button. Now we're just looking at chat because it's by monitor. So now we should be seeing the right thing. And so you can see here we've got the aquarium decorations. We've also got the Aquarium Co-op towel. People have been asking, like, where can I find these on the website? So it's now under shirts and accessories, and that's, you know, this category down here. And if you were looking for the Dutch auction, this piece of artwork down to $4.41.21 could be yours. It's amazing. It's in the background here. I'm hoping it'll get to the... I'm not really hoping it'll get to the level I want to buy it at, but if it does, I'll be happy to keep it. And then, so also we've got the email sign up. If you guys haven't been signed up for that, that's where you can learn about our deals. And you just put your email address in here. We send one out once a week. And right now we'd be telling you that stuff is on sale. And so until, tomorrow at midnight, basically, Monday night at midnight, we've got Lava Rock on sale. So if I go to Aquascaping Materials and we go to Lava Rock, it's all 20% off. These are all packages we had Kaylee put together. And so you can see, like, this one would have been $44. And instead it's $35.19. And we've got lots of those packages. They'll probably go pretty quick here. They always do. So yeah, that's odd that, oh, I know why. Some of these are on sale. I can fix that after the stream. So if you see one of these you really like, it's because they were added on after the sale already started. So I need to go back in and add those. And then also all Phoenix Stingray lights are 15% off if you use the promo code Phoenix Sale. So that would be these lights right here. The Phoenix Stingrays, all of them 15% off, as long as you put that code in. So that's kind of getting everything out of the way. People should be in. We can start talking and answering some questions. Let me pop back over here, and I'm back. And so, all right, let me pop into the chat, see where we're at. So who's got questions about mini ponds? And let me explain what a mini pond is. Mini pond is... like a traditional pond might be like thousands and thousands of gallons, right? But a mini pond to me is like 100 gallons, maybe 50 gallons, maybe 200 gallons. And I set them up temporarily outside for like the summer so that I can put tropical fish out and hopefully breed them or get them to color up a ton or just interact with them. And so sometimes even just a smaller goldfish pond outside is really fun. And so that's what we're focusing on tonight. We got our first Super Chat of the night. If you don't know what that is, people can make a donation to the channel here, and it puts your question up top. As long as it's, I think, $3 or more, it'll be at the top. Otherwise, I can get lost a little bit down in the way there, and I try to answer them all. But Chin Chin with the $5 Super Chat. Corey, are tiger endlers, yellow jackets, and leopard endlers the same? Kind of. They kind of all derive from the first cross, and the first cross that made a tiger endler was a normal endler and a tequila sunrise guppy. But then as we've further refined it, there's subtle differences, and I'm not convinced they're that much of a difference. I think it's more of a marketing ploy. Like, let's say the market was really saturated with tiger endlers, and now you've got yellow jackets, people might go, ooh, that's a little bit different, I'm going to get some of those. And then leopard endlers, that type of thing. And so think of it like maybe like cherry shrimp. You've got cherry shrimp, you've got painted red fire cherry shrimp, you've got really shrimp. So are they all the same? Well, kind of, yeah. But are they all slightly different? Probably. To the right trained eye, you could see something a little bit different. There's also the rainbow endler and things like that. But in general, when you're breeding all of those, almost all of them come out just like shrimp would. And so I personally just call them all tiger endlers. Even the rainbow tiger endlers, I'm like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit different, but really it's a tiger endler. So I classify them all as the same. But, you know, if you're really a tiger endler connoisseur, then maybe you wouldn't. But I love them, but I'm not a connoisseur. Like, I don't have 40 tanks of nothing but different tiger endler variants. So let's see here. I want to make sure I didn't miss any chats while I was on the website, like the super chats, because that's always horrible. The one we missed at the very beginning at 5:42 p.m., which would have been like yesterday or something, was LG3 Nation for $2.34. Thank you. Could you do a mini indoor pond for a Mabu puffer? How many gallons? Well, I wouldn't say it would be mini. I would say at least probably 300-400 gallons, depending on how you laid out the pond. Now, the reason I'm not big into ponds inside is because when you set up a pond like that inside, you end up putting a lot of humidity into that room. And so I prefer an aquarium because I can build better tops. But you certainly could build ponds inside, but I think at that 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 gallon range, you're more into an actual pond as opposed to a mini pond. And, you know, we're mostly talking about ponds outside. And so, yeah. Wushu Jimmy says, so 50 gallons is the minimum recommendation for a mini pond? I think it depends on your climate. I've done as small as 17 gallons outside. I've done some 10 gallons, but like just for Daphne and stuff. But in general, outside, you can kind of get containers that hold more water for cheap, right? So like the 17-gallon pond, if you will, that I had it was like a laundry tote. You know, they'll sell them at like grocery stores and stuff. You're supposed to load them up with ice and then either, you know, beverages and stuff like that, and they sell them for like $7. Well, yeah, it holds about 17 gallons of water, and I've done that with some like very small libraries to breed outside. But the more water you have, the less temperature fluctuations and things like that, the more fry you could probably raise. But if you only have, let's say, a 8-foot section in your yard that you're going to have ponds, I'd rather have probably like 3 or 4 ponds that are, let's say, 100 gallons each than one pond that's 400 gallons. So I could play with 4 different things and try out some different stuff. But yeah, 50 gallons, that's a great one. You know, the half whiskey barrels, they're really fun because you can kind of go to a Home Depot, buy all the parts, and it looks pretty good. Like if you got to convince, you know, your husband or your wife, something like that, and they're like, I don't know about all this. You got to make it look really good. That's the most important thing. And then you can sucker them into it, like, look, we're making babies in here, and it's so cool. But if it looks like an eyesore and your, you know, significant other is against it, it's going to be a hard battle. So. Green water, great for raising stuff outside. Usually a bunch of, you know, kind of fish poo in the water, nitrogen, and the sunlight will make a lot of green water happen. And so you could start, like a lot of times, if you look at some of my older videos, I've got ponds set up outside right now. If they weren't green and there's no fish in, I'll just go with like fertilizer and just go glug, 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 and put a ton of fertilizer in there. And when it goes really green, then I know as long as it's warm enough, I'm probably good to go. Seen Fought Aquatics with the super chat. Don't forget to like and share. And then he just wanted me to do this. ABCDFGH. I can't even do it. HIJKLNOP QRSTUVWXYZ did it. Plus, there's a smiley face in there. But in terms of filtration for a mini pond, I really like an air stone or a sponge filter. When you start getting into power heads and things like that, a lot of the fry, like let's say you're doing celestial pearl danios or white clouds, they'll actually get sucked up into it, and it's too powerful. So I like very slow filtration. I tried 1 year without any filtration. Was not good. I think the water stratified too much. The top water got too hot. It stayed too cold down below. The algae got really thick. And I thought I could do it, but at least in the 100-gallon ponds and stuff that I was playing with, it was not a good idea. I got a lot of benefit of just an air stone made a huge difference. And so I recommend that. Let's see. Shade under canopy, okay for a mini pond? Yes. In fact, I recommend normally you put your ponds in shade. And because it's really easy, well, I won't say really easy, but it's more likely you're going to overheat them than it is they're going to get too cold. And so at the hottest of hot summer, you don't want to have to move that pond because it's getting way too hot. And if you put it a little bit in the shade, if air temperature is still warm, it'll heat it up. So by it being in the shade, it doesn't have these huge swings on hot and cold. It's more even keeled, because in the shade the whole time, let's say it heats up during the day and we bump up a few degrees, and then it cools down at night and we go down a few degrees, but if it's sitting in the sun, it might just go boom, 20 degrees hotter, and then cool off really fast. And so yeah. Let's see. Rob from Flip Aquatics is doing a stream on Wednesdays at another time than this. Could you please consider doing this also? So I could consider doing other live streams, but I need to make sure I make the time for it. And right now, I really am lacking time. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life, and but yes, would I consider it? I would consider it, but I know at least for the next few weeks, there's no way. You know, I've got that big tank coming. I've got all the videos I got to do, but then my house remodel's finishing up. I've got a couple of surgeries I'm going to go through, one being my eye here. And so, like, my next few weeks are really, really packed, full. And so, like, right now, if you guys have noticed, my other channel, which I talk about business, I didn't even do one this week. I was so light on time, I didn't even film a live stream at all. But last week on this channel, we did two, right? We did one on Monday and there. So I do try and fit it in, but it's gotta fit into my schedule. I can't, I can't not do business or stuff like that. Plus, I've got a new hire, so we've got a new person starts on Wednesday. We got to train that person. Meanwhile, there's always other products we're trying to launch. I'm going to be trying to help Koi.com, which you guys are going to see that video coming out here this week. Them get their YouTube channel in shape. And then there's other paid consulting calls I have to do and that type of stuff. So what I try not to do, and I think you guys see this, I try not to go, yes, I'm going to do that, and then back away from it. I try to keep doing it as much as I can. And so if I can pull it off, I will. But I need to start setting aside the time and making sure I can make that time happen. And I'm not sure which day that could happen or anything. So yeah, Dwayne says, are we back inside our house yet? Nope. In fact, 2 or 3 days ago, I was sleeping on my grandmother's couch. Not even my own couch, my grandmother's couch. Because I redid the floor they messed up on for the second time at this point. It's still messed up. And we had no notice, and we couldn't get our dogs into a hotel anywhere, so we went to stay at Grandma's house. So that's how crazy my life is not only am I normally sleeping on my couch, I didn't even get to that. I slept on someone else's couch. So, let's see here. What range of temperatures would you say is optimal for white cloud minnows? I would say optimal, 72-ish degrees, but, they can go, I've kept them out year-round outside, and so they've had 2 inches of ice over them, and the water temp was probably 34 degrees, and then I've had them all the way in the summer where the water temp might have been 85, on a really, really hot day, and they overwintered just fine for me, but I think optimally is more in that 72 range. So Chewy Bros says, what happened to other Dutch auctions? I went to check out and saw they were all gone and back at normal prices. Yeah, we had sold out of the products that were on sale, and then once they sell out, they're out. And then we put stuff back into stock, and it's at normal price again. So it's kind of, you got to get it while you can get it, not going to be there forever. I mean, Like, I think the Miramar moss balls got down to $2.33 and just went. Like, people bought them all instantly. And kind of the same thing was happening with the Prime and the other things as well. So that's how a Dutch auction works. It kind of gets cheaper, and people in their own mind have a certain point where they're like, I'm going to buy all of that. And that's what happens. Will plants like water hyacinths be okay in the shade? Typically, yes. Typically, what we see as shade, when you have like a par meter that reads light, is still very bright, much brighter than our aquarium light. So typically, yes. But I maybe in a perfect world, you'd position your pond like at the corner of a house where, let's say it's 6 feet long, 3 feet are in intense light, and then 3 feet aren't. You know, because the way the sun, sets and that type of thing. And so you'd get a hot section and a cold section, and you could rotate plants if you're having any struggle a little bit. But really, you kind of want to start one year, start at one place and go, how'd it do? And then if you go, well, the plant struggled a little bit, you could make it a little bit more sun. But I would tell you, start from the least amount of sun pretty much to, and work your way up. Most people want to get as hot as they can, and there's a lot of states where if it's that hot, you got no chance. Will guppies survive winters in Illinois? I doubt it, not unless you're heating that pond through the winter. Oh, interesting. White clouds are illegal in BC, Canada. Huh. Mosquito fish are illegal here in Washington. I don't know if it's the same way there, but they'd be a fun one too. Let's see here. Talking about couches. Have I ever raised tadpoles or used them for food? I've used them for some fish food. The tadpoles, I'm not really into frogs, but you can get, I call them predators in your pond. Frogs, newts, dragonfly larvae, raccoons, cats, kids, all those things you're going to kind of be playing against outside. And that's what I actually have the most fun with, is dealing with the herons and the raccoons. And it's like I'm keeping a fish tank, right? Except I get all these other challenges, which I enjoy the challenges. And then on top of that, my fish look really good because they're getting natural sunlight. They're eating bugs. You guys, if you go back and look at some of the other videos, you see I installed like a bug zapper over it, that type of thing. So I really enjoy the different dynamics outside, and it keeps the hobby fresh for me. And so, like, I get this summer season where I'm doing stuff outside and neglecting the stuff inside. And when I say neglecting, not like stuff's dying, but I'm not building as much inside. And then it comes back to winter, and then it's like, okay, I can't do anything outside. I'm going to do a ton of stuff inside, and that's how it keeps me entertained in the hobby, because if I only do inside stuff, I'll get bored, and I try to keep it fresh and fun for me. Let's see. Petro Gonzalo says, Corey, I have wild guppies that can safely go to 62 Fahrenheit for 2 hours at least. Can I feel safe shipping them without heat packs? I mean, it depends, right? So, like, right now, probably at this time of year, but in the winter, you'd still have to heat pack them, or at least I would, You could do some tests, but I would still heat pack them in the winter for sure. Have I tried bettas in my ponds? I haven't. I do kind of want to try maybe some mouth brooding bettas and stuff like that. The problem is, years past, I've always rented, right? And so I never set up that many ponds. When I say not that many, I'm talking like 7 or 8. I'm hoping that Bob will help me from Steenfod Aquatics, and we can build like a ton of ponds. Like, I want to put like 6 or 7 right in front of my fish room, and then I've already got 4 more set up, so that's going to be like 11. If I could get to like maybe 20 ponds that were all 50, 100 gallons, something like that, I could try a lot of different species, and I really want to try some stuff, because I know like in California they're doing Odessa barbs year-round outside, Epistogramma borelli. I want to try Florida flagfish. I've got all those rice fish I want to try. I want to play with some more white clouds. I like doing shrimp outside. If you guys didn't come from Flip Aquatics channel, he's going to do a breeding shrimp project outside that I want to be a part of. I think that'll be super fun. So, I want to do all these things. I want to test a bunch of stuff, so that way next year, okay, these 6 did really well, and then I want to try these new 14 things, and eventually I want like 20 things that can be outside year-round. That would be really fun to me, and I enjoy that challenge of how am I going to heat it up by 2 more degrees, because that fish doesn't do well at that temperature. So yeah, that's why I get excited about it. Nisi says, lowest temps for white clouds during summer tubbing. Sounds like a fun project, but Alaska can be brutal. So my advice to you, Nisi, would be put them out when it's the warmest, right? So if it's like nighttime temps are in the 50s, you're probably good to go. But if you know, like, oh, if I wait another month, nighttime temps will be in the 60s, that's even better. Fish can usually step down very slowly, easily, but if you take them from 72 degrees in your aquarium or a pet store and flop them straight into 40-degree weather, they might not make it. They're pretty hardy, and usually they will, but, you know, we want to be as nice as we can to these animals. And so what you could do, you could also give it a head start in your garage if you have a garage. Like, build the pond out there and maybe put on some rollers, like if you have a, you know, cement slab in your garage and then you've got a driveway and you could roll it. Treat it like a pot, you know, like a plant. You can kind of roll those in for the winter and you roll them back out for the summer. You can do the same thing with your pond, and that might get you started. Then you take it out for a few months, you know, and it's all about your growing season. So, like here in Washington, I find I get like 4 months maybe. So let's say I get June, July, August, and then some years I'll get September. Sometimes September is really warm, sometimes really cold. And so I pretty much for sure get about 3, but sometimes I get 4. And what I'm hoping to do is build tops and bring warm air in from the fish room and optimize it so that I might be able to get 5 or 6 months, kind of one on each end there. And if I can even do it half the year, and then find some species that could do it all year round. So, but it's going to take me years to figure it out, and I'm up for the challenge. I think it'll be fun. Can you put a heater in a mini pond? Sure, you certainly can. There's actually nothing stopping it other than I like the challenge of trying to figure out how to not do it. But yes, I do, you know, if I needed to, I would. Like, oh man, just in the coldest month, I need to run a heater for 1 month. I'd probably do it. But I want to learn a lot about not using them first, so that way I can use them the least amount. Flynn's Fish Forum says, Corey, I'm looking for some kind of lily for my pond. Dwarf aquarium lilies are pretty scarce in my area. Any suggestions on small to easy to find lilies? Do you have a Home Depot? You can buy them at Home Depots, stuff like that. But I don't know what's going to be local to you in Canada. I find like yellow irises, or most of the irises, really easy to do outdoors. And that's another aspect. Like, I flowered a bunch of these cool pond plants and got myself a bunch of not breeder points, but like horticulture award program points to my local club. So you can have fun, and like the blooms on water hyacinth, those nice purple blooms are really fun. And it can be a really beautiful thing. And I love it because my family will get into, like, you see I had babies? Did you see how good that flower looked? Whereas I'm really, you know, interested in the fish, but even it pulls in some of the neighbors and the kids, and they're going, what are you doing over here? And it's pretty fun to see baby fish, and then if you see like a frog or a tadpole, or you just see bugs, and there's always something weird going on, and that's what I love about it. And by the way, when this video uploads is all done, I'll put a link at the end to my talk that I gave to the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society. It's like a 45-minute presentation all about mini ponds, where it's laid out in a much more like linear pattern, so you know like how to build it, what you want to do, different species to consider, predators, that type of thing. Can saltwater ponds be done? They can, Dylan. I won't say a lot, but a few summers I've done brine shrimp. And so it wasn't like actual saltwater fish, but I was raising brine shrimp, because brine shrimp, when they're happy, they're a live bear. So I could just go and scoop live brine shrimp, go feed it to ponds and inside, and then they would just give birth to more live brine shrimp. It was really fun and cool, and I enjoyed that. And the fertilizer, to make the water go green, I would just take a handful of grass and throw it in there, and it would cause the water to bloom. They would eat all that bloom, make more brine shrimp, and so that was a fun project. I don't see why you couldn't do saltwater outside. The only thing I'd be a little bit worried about is when it rains really heavy. If you get a heavy rain, if you don't have a top on there, it could change the salinity. But brine shrimp, they will go with such a wide variety that wasn't a problem for me. So, you live in Spain with a 300-gallon tub. What would you put in there? I would put in, you know, guppies are really fun. Live bears, platies are really fun. I like live bears because you get not instant gratification, but by a month or two in, you're seeing lots of babies. Where if you try like egg layers, like white clouds, stuff like that, if it's not the right temp or your filtration's not quite right, sometimes you won't get anything out of it, and it can be a disappointing thing. So if you only get one pond, I recommend doing something like, for sure, like guppies and stuff like that. You'll get babies. If you got a few, then you can do some egg scatters, maybe a live bear, maybe another thing. So that way you're not like, oh man, I wasted my whole year. I didn't make anything. Because I want to make stuff. But if you just want to look at stuff, you know, I really do love Shubunkins and Sarasa comets. They're really nice. I might put one of those smaller ponds up by the front door of my house. Which if I do that project, obviously I'll film it all and it'll be fun. What is the maximum ambient temperature you would risk guppies in? Temps are starting to rise and will reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit in July daytime. I don't want to fry my fish. It's hard to say. Like ambient temperature being like air temperature, I think you'll be fine. So if you're worried about really hot temperatures, bury your pond so it'll get some of that earth temperature and it'll help cool it down. But I don't think the water will get much above 85 or so. And the more water you use, the less the temperature swings. So, like for instance, if you have 300 gallons, the water temp's going to be much more stable than 50 gallons because, you know, think about it, just like a glass of water heats up really fast outside, right? In 100-degree weather. But if you had like a block of ice, it takes much longer and it stays cold in the cooler, that type of thing. So you want to use insulation and those types of things. But I think 85 water temp is about as high as you really want to go. They could probably handle a little more, but you don't want to be on the edge. I don't like being on the edge. Let's see. Have I heard about Guppy Train? He's got some awesome strains you might like. I have, William. I have tons of his Guppy Train strains in here. So you could watch and see a lot of different ones on my channel. Not necessarily tropical, but what about an oxalotl pond? I've never done oxalotl ponds outside, but yes, should work on the same principles. The only thing I might fear is that, like, if you had raccoons and stuff, oxalotl is going to be a lot easier for them to catch compared to fish. So maybe keep a top on there, but the top also keeps the water warmer, and oxalots don't like warm water. So, you know, take into account your climate and that kind of thing. I'm curious what the smallest mini pond size you could functionally pull off if you weren't trying to breed fish. I don't know. I've never done less than 10 gallons. I've done 10 gallons, but I've never done less. Like, I'm trying to think of, for me, it's a container. Like, what container would I have that's much less than 10 gallons? You know, like, I wouldn't have a goldfish bowl because I don't own any. Like, a 5-gallon bucket, I probably wouldn't do it because I want to be able to see into it. I think 10 gallons is the smallest I've ever done, but with the $1 a gallon sales, stuff like that, even a 20-gallon tank for $20, you can do quite a bit with it, and you could probably inbreed a little bit of stuff, too. I've got a small patio. It's 10 foot by 4 foot. What would be the best option? Stock pond or half whiskey barrels? Me personally, I think you're better off going with like the 70-gallon Rubbermaid totes. Because they've got almost, you know, it's a little bit bigger footprint than those whiskey barrels, but 70 gallons is really nice compared to like, I think whiskey barrels are like 29-ish gallons. And it doesn't take up that much more room, but they're a little bit taller. And they're really rigid, and you can move them, and they last forever. So I just really like those. Let's see. How many cherry shrimp would you start in a 110-gallon pond? Probably like 10 or 12 is what I would do. Pedro with the $5 super chat. I have plenty of guppy fry. Can I find a decent mini pond container and aquatic plants at Home Depot? What other materials can I find? The aquatic plants might be a little difficult at Home Depot. They do have lilies and stuff, but usually, you know, plants that you have in the aquarium will do okay outside. And then for a mini pond container, usually they'll have like the half whiskey barrels, that type of stuff, at least the liner for sure. But if you can find like a feed store, like anywhere someone would go buy feed for horses and cattle and stuff, they usually have the Rubbermaid totes. And they just work wonders. You might have to drive an hour to go get one, but it'll last you for the rest of your life. So it's worth it to me. What would be the most successful shrimp or fish or shrimp in a 30-gallon mini pond? Shrimp, I think it would be cherry shrimp. As far as fish, live bears are really easy. White clouds are super duper easy also. But if you have shrimp and white clouds, in only 30 gallons, you might not get any baby white clouds because the shrimp might eat the eggs. But in a bigger pond, I've done both of them and it's worked. Are we going to get enough people here to break the watch record? I don't know. How many people are watching? 582? Nope, we're way off. We need way more grandmas to make that happen. Because I think 829 is the record, so we're like 200 plus people off. I live in Canada. It gets cold. How cold can guppies be? They really don't like to be under 60 or so unless you're doing like wild type guppies. Quietest air pump that can handle multiple sponge filters? Linear air piston pumps. They're also the most expensive type of pump. Go figure, right? Quiet and multiple? Yeah. Anything I should know about butterfly goodeids, which those are Amica splendens, and he wants to breed them outside? Because that's the plan this year. Just don't let them get too hot. They should be able to go relatively cold. They thrive in those lower 70s, upper 60s range. But yeah, I want to play with some goodeids outside as well. Just make sure with that top, on the hottest days, it doesn't get too hot. Goodeids usually die from too much temperature. And with the Amica splendens, I bet they could do 80 water temp before it's too difficult. What are some fish ideas for an outdoor pond in Michigan other than koi? Cody, I would try the, what is it, rosy red minnow? Yeah, like the feeder fish. I would do those if it was me. I feel like my chat just froze. Let's see here. I have multiple nano fish shrimp tanks I've kept Oscars for. Should I plant my new 75 and do a community tank? Or should I do an Oscar again? I missed my puppy of an Oscar. Well, if you missed your Oscar, do an Oscar. Yeah. It's easy. Do you recommend koi in a huge tank or a pond? I recommend a pond just because it's easier to have bigger ponds than it is big tanks. So I recommend ponds for that. What mini ponds can you do in Michigan summer weather? I don't know the specific Michigan summer weather, so if I knew that, I could help you a little bit, but I would expect most. Any suggestions for hot summer heat like Texas? Anything you do to keep the fish thriving with the heat? Yeah, you could use evaporative cooling, so put a fan that blows across the water. That'll cool the water down by about 10 degrees. But if you already have wind, that's going to do it for you. And pick species that can tolerate some hotter temps. You know, don't do goodeids. Maybe you do swordtails and platies and guppies and stuff like that that can handle the hotter temps. Let's see. What are some fish ideas for outdoor ponds? Well, I already did that one. I need more questions, people. How do mollies do outside? What do you think about the creamsicle leertail molly? You could probably do it. I would make sure you quarantine them well indoors, so that way they're already healthy before you put them outside, because I have a feeling if you just went and bought some, they're usually pretty weak from pet stores, and so you'd probably just have a dud of a summer otherwise. I'm curious, would cinder blocks around the pond work as insulation? My ponds are on my roof and I cannot bury them, but like the idea of insulating. So I looked into cinder blocks, and concrete itself isn't that good of a insulator. You could buy like the rigid styrofoam insulation, that would help. You can also paint your ponds white, both like if you did a pond liner, you could do inside and you could do outside, and so that will reflect the heat off of it. And then I'm trying to think, how else could I cool it down besides wind or you know, a fan? I think those are the easiest ways. Let's see here. What's the ideal goldfish pond temperature? Probably upper 80s, I would say. Not upper 80s, upper 60s to maybe, you know, upper 70s. But usually it stays cooler in, you know, in a pond, so that's nice. That's kind of why they do so well out there, right? What are natural ways to reduce green water in a turtle pond? That could be really hard, Jay, because turtles are high waste producers, and then you've got a lot of sunlight. So changing water can help, keeping the nutrients low, and most turtles will eat plants. But if you could create a bog area where they can't get to, the plants can absorb some of those nutrients and could maybe outcompete it. The easiest way, though, is going to be just use a UV sterilizer. It'll clean it up pretty quick. What about Norman Lampi killifish? Are they jumpers like other killifish? And can I cover the pond or tank with a lid? They are jumpers. In an aquarium, for sure, you want a lid. In a pond, you might be able to keep the water level low enough that they wouldn't be able to jump out. But they'd be kind of a fun one to do out there. I kind of want to try clown killies, maybe those, and the rice fish, those types of things. So there's quite a few of those little nano fish I really want to try. So Chris ongoing with the super chat. Hey Corey, best tank mates for a Faka puffer. That's difficult, Chris, because every Faka puffer is different. I would say start with things that are quick, like maybe zebra danios and stuff like that. See how he takes to it, because something that's really slow, if it needs to run, isn't going to be able to run away very fast. But maybe giant danios. I know some of my employees have done giant danios. Zebra danios is quick stuff. If I were to put mesh over a small pond during the day and uncover it at night, would that deter the dragonflies while encouraging mosquitoes to breed and provide food? You could probably find the right mesh that's big enough to keep dragonfly out, but let mosquitoes in. I feel like you're not going to get that much benefit, because like there's still gnats and stuff that get in the water, so I would probably just leave it on day and night. Plus, I'd be lazy, too. Do a how to set up mini ponds outdoors video. I have a whole presentation already done. There's probably 10 videos on my channel already about it. I'll be doing more as I set mine up, but I definitely have done a bunch already. Trying to convince my mom to turn the pool saltwater so I can put saltwater fish in there. Yeah, if it's a pool, you'd probably really have to up filtration, and you're still going to have nitrate export, which will be difficult in a pool. I have a 550-gallon pond, half full pool. I breed wild guppies in it. What else could I breed in there? I have tons of green water. Well, if you're leaving the guppies in it, you probably can't do too much more, because they'll just prey on each other's babies. But you could probably do shrimp. You could probably do snails. That's really all I can think of that you could mix. Well, maybe Plecostomus, like bristlenose, maybe. Let's see here. Who has the most comments so far? What does Nightbot got to say about that? The top chatter is Mr. Science Geek. Is that right? Oh, it's from last week too. So let me refresh this and see here. Yeah, in the last week on my live streams, it's Mr. Science Geek, Joel Gillette in number 2, Tawny in number 3, Dean H in number 4, Michael's Fish Room number 5. Minimum number of shrimp to breed in a 5-gallon? I would start with 5 is what I would do. Pond with no filter, air pump doable? It's doable, William, but it is not nearly as good as just doing an air stone on there. I thought I could do it, and it was so much work that, really I kind of say, like, not worth it. How about one of those bug zapper lights above the pond with the bottom tray out, automatic fish feeder? Yep, it's alleged. I've already done videos on it. It's on my page. I've been doing outdoor ponds a long time, and you can go look at it, and you can see me nerd out on bugs getting zapped and fish eating them. Flagfish or platies in high altitude porch pond? I would do flagfish. Corey, how do you think this will work? I'll put the Liberty Mollies outside, and when they have babies, I'll bring the babies into a 24-gallon grow-out tank. Any tips on how I could do it better? I would do the opposite. I would just put babies out there and grow them out outside. And I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, if you fail at that pond outside, you don't want to lose all your Liberty Mollies. So I would, I'd be careful. Do I have filtration on my ponds? I typically do a sponge filter. Yep. What kind of non-typical pond plants, aquarium plants, do well outside? Yeah, all aquarium plants pretty much do awesome outside in my experience. I'm trying to think of any I can't think of that do poorly. Like maybe dwarf baby tears and stuff, because you don't really have as much CO2, but the lighting's really intense. But most times you can't really see as you plant them. So most things that are stem plants or larger. Did I finish the huge tank at my house? Nope. That doesn't arrive for another 8 days. Will setting up a guppy mini pond help the mosquito situation by becoming a trap for larvae? Or will it make it worse? It won't make it worse, but I'm not sure it's gonna like help that much either. Like it'll be really fun, but I don't know that you're gonna like save all your neighbors from having mosquitoes. You know, bodies of water just kind of do that. So, how is the Avatar tank? It's doing well. It's got some algae I need to clean off the front. Am I going to add any shrimp to it? No, because I've got those cichlids in there that would probably just eat them. Chin Chin says, super chat, are corridors has brosis worth breeding for profit? And the same situation for dwarf puffers. In my opinion, neither one of those are a good breeding for profit fish because the grow out time is so long, and the like the micro foods you're going to have to use to raise them. In my opinion, the return on investment's not there. But you know, maybe you've got a solution I haven't figured out, and it could be. How are little turtles doing? Doing good. You'll see an update on them, I think, on Thursday. What fish can control algae in a goldfish pond? Not snails. Well, my first question would be like, why would we not use snails? Because they're the best at algae control. After that, I would say Chinese hyphen banded sharks. Would something slow growing like a Nubius get a growth boost if I put them in ponds for the summer? Enough to be profitable? I don't know if it'll be enough to be profitable, but I do think you'd probably get a decent boost, assuming you're fertilizing correctly. Just got some clown loaches. Are they sensitive to ick? Yes, very sensitive to ick. I always treat them because it's like 80% chance to get ick for me when I bring them in. Do your dogs get into your ponds? I have a large boxer and I'm sure he would drink his heart out. I'm not sure if that would hurt. I don't know. I mean, I know my dogs don't because my ponds are taller than the dogs. But I'm not sure, like, I don't know enough to know how much risk is there for the dog. Like, I know a lot of horse people keep goldfish in their pond or in their troughs to keep the mosquitoes out, and there's no problem there. But I have no idea, like, you know, is green water bad for a dog or anything like that? Like, I'm not a vet. I'm sure most would say it is, but I have a suspicion that it won't be that bad. But I don't know. I live in Zone 6 by Cincinnati. My in-ground koi ponds are in the low 70s now. Air temps haven't been consistent this spring, but the koi pond is warm. Is it too early to set up a guppy black stock tank? If you can get in the low 70s, I think you're good to go on those guppies. But make sure the water temp's that high. You know, like if you set it up tomorrow, it takes it could take a week to warm up. What is my big puffer's name? His name is Murphy. Did he mention anything about fish cycle for a pond? Normally I cycle it with plants. That's how I cycle everything. So get water hyacinth in there, get the water to go green, but get algae going, get something alive going. That's what I do. Because you can start that way before it's warm enough to put the fish in. If it's only 30 degrees out right now, you can get stuff going, and then by the time it's warm enough, it's fully cycled, ready to go. That's the good thing about ponds, is you got to wait for temperature anyway. Can you grow Java moss to sell in a kiddie pool outside? Would it still be grown submerged? Well, yeah. I mean, if you're growing underwater, it'd be submerged. You can certainly do it outside. I don't know, like a lot of people are trying to do this for money, and I get that, but it's no different than doing it inside. So if I use a 135-gallon tank inside or a 100-gallon stock tank outside, it's pretty much the same thing. You're still going to have to know how to manage algae and stuff like that. Like, that's the hardest part of growing Java moss. Otherwise, everyone would do it. All the farms. Gavin says, I've got a 55-gallon drum for my guppies outside. I put up a cover over the pond so that the sun doesn't hit the water, but now I'm starting to see one dead fish every 3 to 5 days. Any advice? So I tried 55-gallon barrels. It didn't work for me because I could never see the bottom, and I was getting uneaten food, and I would get ammonia going up and stuff like that. So I would look into your water parameters. That's where I found I struggled with real tall mini ponds like that. Any advice for a raccoon that loves my water hyacinth? No fish in the pond yet, but they're visiting nightly. So, 1, try putting a net over it. Maybe that solves it. 2, you could try soaking marshmallows in apple juice, and then you put those around the ponds, and raccoons hate having sticky stuff on their feet. So the goal is they go and eat those, then they get dirt on their hands, and they won't want to come back. And that's why you see raccoons and stuff wash their hands in your ponds, because they like clean hands because they use them for everything. And so you just want to make yours less desirable than your neighbor's, essentially. Alright, let's see, what else we got? How would I make a small fish pond? How would I make a small fish pond, and how many goldfish would fit in it if it was 40 to 100 gallons? In 40 gallons, maybe up to 2, and 100 gallons, maybe up to 5. How do you make it? There's plenty of videos you can watch on how to build a pond, but for those sizes, normally you just buy a rigid pond. Is there anything I can put in the swamp by my house that eat mosquitoes? They do not dry up completely during the summer. I don't know, Caleb. You'd have to look into local regulations. Like, I don't know that you can actually introduce anything legally, but some of the best things that people use are the mosquito fish, which is gambusia. They're illegal here, but a lot of states are actually mandatory if there's a body of water, but you'd have to do some research on that. Could you start a pond without an air stone, then before you add fish, add the sponge filter? Yeah, Laura, you could do that. You might want to add the sponge filter at least a day before, because you're going to put this current that was never in there before, and so it might stir up some gunk that needs to settle back out. But yeah, you could do that. Do big koi tolerate really hot and really cold temperatures? Well, it depends on how hot and how cold, but most living things don't. You know, with really big koi, you need really big water. Typically, big koi, 1,000 gallons of water per koi, and with that much water, you don't get real big temperature swings. So you might only get the water down to 40 or 50 in a big pond like that, and it might only ever get up to 75 at the hottest, because it's so hard to heat that much water. Are water changes necessary in a mini pond? Not unless you're really stocking heavy for the size of pond. So, you know, think about setting up a new aquarium, and you're planting it, and then for like 3 months or 4 months you're going to keep it. There probably isn't that much waste building up, but you want to test it. For me, I drill holes in the sides of my ponds so that, like, let's say there's the rim, and then right here I would drill a hole or two. When it rains a lot, it will overflow, and that's my water change. And so, but I don't have to worry about it too much. But like, let's say I had 500 koi that I was going to bring in and sell at the store. I have to change that water all the time, because that's way overstocked for, let's say, 300 gallons of water. But in most of your guys' ponds and most of my ponds, my goal is that they're very, very little maintenance, because that's my goal. Pleco in a koi pond? It can be done, but once it gets cold, they have to come back in, and it can be really hard to catch plecos back out of ponds like that. I'm hoping my emergent plants will grow through the mesh to hide it enough so it's not obvious. At the moment, tubs are pretty new, and we haven't had a crazy summer. Yeah, you can get some stuff to carpet through it. You could also use something like ivy or something like that, like a plant planted next to the pond that grows up and over onto it. It'll provide some shade as well, which can help it in the hottest months. My outside tank's water became green. How long till it starts clearing? It's a new water and tank's been for 4 days. Well, it'll probably never clear unless you fix the problem that caused it. So there might have been too much nitrogen, could be getting way too much sunlight. So either shading it or figuring out what caused it to go that way. That's how you generally solve it. What's the most unique mini pond fish or setup? I have no idea, because what one person thinks is unique, the next person goes, yeah, I've done that a million times. So, you know, you can let your creativity go wild, though. If I treat, boil, and keep underwater for 2 weeks, can I make my own driftwood out of wood I find in the forest? Sure, if you do the research and find out what kind of wood it is and make sure the saps and things like that aren't toxic. Yeah, but you'd have to do some research. And I'm really bad at identifying wood. What are recommendations for mini pond plants? Preferably easy and pretty ones so I can convince my family. Danielle, I'd recommend getting some water hyacinth. They're pretty easy, they bloom, and they're $4 or $5 a piece. You can get a few of them. By the end of summer, your whole pond will be covered if you fertilized them a bit. And those blooms, they're really nice, and you know, they think you really know what you're doing with that pond, which that's the first thing. Make it look good. How do kiddie pools work as a mini pond? A lot of people do it. They're real shallow, so they've got a big surface area, but that also means they can heat up really fast. And like 1 inch of evaporation is huge in that footprint, as opposed to something that's a little bit taller. So just, you got to keep an eye on it a little bit more, and they can be a little bit harder to keep predator proof, but a lot of people use them. Last year in my pond, sometimes hornets, wasps, or bees land in the water and the fish would eat them. What are the chances of the fish swallowing the stinger and dying? I don't know the odds. I've never had a problem with it, and I've definitely seen that happen, but yeah, I don't think it's a problem, but I don't know. How do you stop birds from eating pond fish? Put a net on it. Yeah. Jacqueline says, just got back from Grandma's for Mother's Day and finished doing a 50% water change on my tanks. Well, I hope you told your grandma to watch this, because, you know, we need all the people watching. Oh, I missed a super chat. Pedro donated $1. Thanks, buddy. How many people do we have watching right now? I can't find it. 617. That ain't bad. That's right. Hashtag make it look good. Am I going to put the dream guppies from Guppy Train outside? Probably not, Jason. I value them too much. I mean, maybe some of the babies, but probably not. I'll probably keep them inside where I know they're safe until I have a lot of them, and then maybe next year I could try it. Since it's hard to monitor small fish in a pond, do I have any concerns about illness? I don't, because I quarantine them before they go out, and then when they come back in after I've bred a bunch, I quarantine them again. So, yeah. What fish would I recommend for a UK year-round outdoor pond? Would cherry shrimp be okay? I would start with white clouds. You guys have a pretty similar weather pattern to us here in Washington, so I would suggest white clouds. Rosy red minnows, if you have them, I would do that too. My ponds get down to 54 degrees at night and 79 during the day. Is that okay for guppies? Maybe. I mean, that's a pretty wide swing you got going there. And, like, how big is that pond? Because really, it shouldn't swing that much. It'd have to be a pretty small pond to go from almost 80 to almost 50. Yeah, if it got down to like 60 degrees, I feel a lot safer about putting guppies out there. But that's just, it's a little cold. A little bit. How much is a Mubu puffer? And how is Murphy? Murphy's fine. Mubu puffers at my store basically start at $225. Are there places to buy show quality guppies besides the Guppy Train? It just isn't convenient. Sure, there's tons of places. Aquabid, you know, nowhere is going to be convenient. That's the thing, is like the really high-end strains. Like if you go buy them on Aquabid, you have to transship them in and then pay the transshipper to ship them to you, and then you can get them. You know, that's why they're high quality and hard to get a hold of. Because if they were everywhere, we wouldn't need to. It'd be common again, right? So, who will my next guest be? I don't think I have any lined up right now. Just me. Any tips for red-eared sliders? Because I have one. So I vacation my red-eared sliders typically outside for the months when it's warm, get them natural sunlight, and just build a really good top so they can't crawl out. But that's my tip, I guess. Can you suggest any international clean line show guppy breeders that ship worldwide? ATFG, All Thailand Fancy Guppy. You still have to use importers and stuff like that. Like that's people that ship worldwide. Like even if I ship to you right now, let's say I was going to ship you guppies, you still have to have a permit to bring them into the country, whatever country you're in. So there's still quite a bit of work. And most people like me just go, oh, I don't ship worldwide. Why? Because I don't want to walk you through the 6-month process of you getting your import permit, you know, so that I can make $34. So that's the problem. You're going, well, I have to get my site inspected. I got to do all this work. I got to do all these things. It's going to take 6 months. Oh, I'm just not going to do it. $5 super chat from Melody. Corey, thank you for everything you do for us. No problem, Melody. Hopefully those Java ferns we sent out to you last week are doing what you want them to do. Corey needs to sell me a trio of the most awesome guppies in the world. Nope, I've already shot people down. People have been sending me emails and stuff left and right, and that's half the reason why I tell everyone no. Because if I give in to one of you, I got to give in to all of you. So I'm giving in to none of you. Let's see here. Would my tadpole get eaten by a leopard puffer? Maybe. Tadpoles aren't that good of swimmers, so. What's the most expensive species of molly? I mean, probably some of the wild-caught mollies will be the most expensive. because I don't know of any like really high end. I mean, the most expensive mollies I could probably buy right now if they weren't wild caught on Aquabid would be from Goliad Farms, which he specializes in breeding some really big cool mollies. But yeah. What plants should I put in my outside tank with my goldfish without them eating it? So I can help filter the water. Something easy to maintain for an outdoor tank and grows fast. Well, you got quite a lot of wants in there. You want it so it won't be eaten, grows fast, easy. Like you're asking for a lot of things that don't really add up. I would say you want things that are slow growing because typically they grow slow but are much hardier. You might look into some aquarium lilies, or not aquarium lilies, but pond lilies. You might get into some irises, maybe parrot's feather, water hyacinth, but they'll nibble on the roots. It kind of just depends on what you're doing, but yeah. Any information on Radican swords? Not information. Not much out there about them. They pretty much grow like other swords. Get 3 feet. Just have a different kind of color pattern to them, and yeah, treat them like an Amazon sword, really. Do you like planet tanks or regular tanks with gravel? Do you like planet tanks or regular tanks with gravel? I mean, I like planet tanks, but I like to use pretty much regular gravel with them. So, kind of both. Do medium-sized rocks help maintain pond temps? I've never thought about that, Joel. I mean, in theory, yes. In theory. But the thing is this. I'm not sure that rocks maintain temperature better than water. Like, I don't know the thermal capacities of each of those. So, it's better than air, but the rock's going to displace water, so I don't know the difference there though. Corey, would mollies do in a pond, in a kiddie pool pond? Sure, yeah. Any plans on selling live cultures? Possibly. We're bringing on new employees, got to train them up, and if there's enough time left, we can sell some cultures. Let's see. Ooh, the bettas are loving those Java ferns. Glad to hear it, Melody. When's the next Petco dollar per gallon sale? If I had to guess, it would be June. That's a guess, though, because I don't know. But it seems like every 2 months. How is the Avatar tank? Looks good. I need to scrub a little algae on the front glass. I need to do a little bit of modification, but I've been out of time. Something fierce. When am I going to sell some Liberty Mollies? Probably never, Joe. That's me being honest. I'll just bring them into my store, so yeah. Who sells Mabu pufferfish? Local fish stores, sometimes on Aquabid when they're in season. What is my opinion on Rummy-Nose Tetras as a pond fish during the summer months? I don't know. I've never tried it, Oddball. Might look cool because that red might really intensify. I don't know. I guess I've never really done tetras and stuff because it'd be almost impossible for me to breed them. And so I usually want something to breed out there. That's the reason I do it, because I love to breed fish. But it might look really cool. I have no idea. Can I grow moss and Java fern in a 5-gallon bucket in full sunlight? Technically you could, Flynn, but I think you're going to battle getting that full sunlight and not having the fertilizers dialed in correctly. So it'll probably be harder than just a normal aquarium. If I have a water pump to circulate the water, Corey, you talked me into doing an outdoor pond. Yeah, I wouldn't use a water pump though. That's gonna like chew up your babies. So, sponge filter. I have a terrible local scene for fish. One small local store that does a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing, and a big box store. Where would you suggest ordering Endlers from? I would probably just look on Aquabid to see the seller that I wanted, so aquabid.com. When is Bob going to start shipping fish to us? We are waiting. I don't know, that's up to him, but if he's smart, never. Will I be keeping Posilia volifera outside the summer? Probably not. I mean, maybe, but probably not. Stuff that I don't have a lot of and I can't easily replace, I don't like to chance outside because, you know, if I was to wait too long to bring them inside and they die, or a raccoon gets in, that's kind of a problem for me. So I typically do things that I can easily replace that I still want to enjoy. And I don't have enough to like split the colony. If I could split the colony, I would maybe try it. Depends on how many tanks I get set up. Heaters at night in the small ponds, you can do it. I try to set them up so I don't do it. Because, you know, you're still going to have to bring them in at some point. Because they're going to get too cold. Does anyone know what plants are in Corey's 10-gallon tank bundle? I want to get it, but I need to know what plants first. It's assorted plants. So we pick plants based on what looks healthy and what we've got a lot of. Typically, it's lots of, like, Java fern, Anubiases, cryptocorns, maybe some Vallisneria, but they're all easy to grow plants, but it's different every time. So that's why it doesn't say, like, if you want specific plants, just order those plants. That's the easiest way. This is where we go, oh man, these look great. We've got too many of these, blah, blah, blah. Which, by the way, we have a ton of really good plants right now because it's really sunny where we're at. And so it slowed down, and my employees are going, geez, we got a ton of plants. So I should tell you guys, go buy all my plants, and they'll come in probably larger than you're used to and looking better than even normal because they're kind of sitting there for an extra week. So, yeah. Let's see here. My friend grows 2 small koi's in a 75-gallon tank till it becomes too big, and he sells it to people. No matter what filtration he has, it's not enough for 2 koi's, correct? No, I wouldn't say that's true. You know, it's because you're looking at koi as a thing. You need to look at them as like, okay, at 2 inches, clearly they make less waste than 2 feet. You can have enough filtration on there. Now, if you're going to say, like, could you keep 30-inch koi in there? Well, no, you can't keep 30-inch koi in there. But, you know, I wouldn't say that what he's doing is wrong. It sounds to me like he's getting rid of them at an appropriate time. So it sounds like it's okay. Chin Chin says, did your frog plecos breed yet? Also, what kind of Coriodoras are good to breed besides Paras? So no, mine haven't bred yet. Mine are still probably 2 years away from being old enough to breed. So I got years to go on that. As far as Coriodoras, I like stir-by Coriodoras, and I'm really enjoying the orange lasers, breeding them. And then I also, it's technically not a Corridora, but the Coriodoras barbatus. They're really fun to breed as well. Yeah, but mostly you pick the flavor you like and then give it an attempt. Jacqueline says, yes, I just got their 20 long bundle and they look amazing. Well, good, I'm glad. My wife and I were at your store yesterday and bought a Congo spotted puffer. We are treating him with general cure and erythromycin. Should we use any other dewormers? Thanks, love your store. So, Sean, I would. Like, my own personal puffers, I treat quite a bit. And that's because I really want to make sure they're fully dewormed. So, like, the next round, what I might do is some levamisole. But really, the Congo spotted puffer doesn't get as big. And so it's not as worrisome if they have a little bit of tapeworm still. Whereas, like, the big puffers, they start eating so much, and it's hard to keep them fed, that you really notice that internal tapeworms. Where, like, the Congo spotted puffers, a little bit of food goes a long way because they don't get huge. But I would at least deworm them 2 or 3 times, probably, and just really make sure. And then I would just kind of leave it and be like, all right, it's good to go. The problem is every time you deworm and stuff like that, there's always a chance you make a mistake with medication, or there's an adverse reaction, or they do have a big tapeworm and they can't pass it, so they die. So that's where I have a hard time. But for me personally, I really deworm them because I know that once after 6 months, if I deworm them all the way, I can keep that fish for many, 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 many years to come, kind of trouble-free. So I like to get that out of the way. Do I recommend the bug bites for cichlids? Yeah, I do. I don't think I have any sitting around. Everyone's been emailing me how shocked they are that we have them and we're shipping them so fast. So we do have them on the website. Yes, even before Amazon, stuff like that. And we're shipping wicked quick. And yeah, people are loving them. You can start reading the reviews coming in on the bug bites. All right. What type of filter for a 100-gallon tank? Canister or sponge? Depends on what you like, Dana. I would probably use like a big hang-on back with an intake sponge, and then maybe one sponge filter as well. So that way I'm getting the air out of the sponge filter, which is what I want. And then I've got an intake on that sponge filter, or on the hang-on back, and then hang-on backs are super easy for me to clean. So that's what I would do personally, probably. That being said, if it's, in my living room and I got to get it really tight to the wall, maybe I'd use a canister filter. But every situation's different, yeah. Dragon says, would you rather have an air pump with an extension cord or an air pump next to your house with super long air tubing cord? I think it comes down to what I have handy. If I have a long extension cord, I would use that. If I have lots of tubing, I would use that. In a perfect world, I like to keep my my air pumps inside, like my garage or my fish room, so I can pump a little bit warmer air into there, and it gets me a longer season, and it keeps them out of the elements. That's in a perfect world. So I use a lot of tubing normally. But I've done it both ways, for sure. What is the minimum size for a pond that won't temp swing in an area that can get 110 in the summer? I'm thinking mini ponds might not work in SoCal. It's hard to say. I mean, I know lots and lots of people do it in SoCal, but put it in the shade, and bigger is better. If you're worried about temps, the more water you have, the harder it is to heat it up and cool it down. So, the answer is as big as you can put in. 300 gallons, 500 gallons, 5,000 gallons. I wouldn't do 50 gallons probably, but yeah. I think it's funny how much those bug bites are blowing up. For once, Canada had something first. For sure, you guys have had it for a long time. About to fix a filter. Any tips or tricks? I would say just really clean out the impeller. Without knowing what type of filter it is, it's hard to give you a specific tip or trick. So, yeah. And just an FYI, a $2 super chat doesn't pop up to the top, so it's hard for us people doing live streams to catch it. So we try. But I did get this one. Smallest tank you can keep a Beta sorority in. I don't know. I've never been successful with a Beta sorority. I actually don't recommend them. Most people would say a 20 long, but I myself haven't had good luck with it. I always end up losing them a year and a half in. I got some Anubias and Crips from Corey, and they are that expensive. Hold on. They are that expensive and are still super healthy with no CO2. Yep. Oh, that weren't that expensive. Yeah. We try to offer insane value. Like, people are always like, well, how come your plants aren't the cheapest? Like, well, because I can stand behind it. I don't have to, take it out of the box, put it in another box, and ship it to you. We can actually grow them, convert them, do things for you guys. So, have I ever kept a sturgeon? I haven't. I've seen local stores around me sell them, but I've never kept any sturgeons in ponds. They look cool, though. Setting up a 50-gallon outdoor aquarium for breeding this summer. How many male and female guppies should I start with? I would probably start with like 2 or 3 males and 6 to 8 females. It depends on, like, is it just fancy guppies, like assorted, or is it like a strain you have? But the more you start with, the more you'll get going. But also know that in that 50-gallon, if you have 400 coming back in at the end of the summer, do you have somewhere for them to go? Yeah. How are the tanks behind me? They're doing okay. I actually want to switch this one to air, the 75 here, because the flow is just too much in there. I need to do that. The other tank, doing really well. Lots of neon yellow shrimp babies. Still have never done a water change on either one, but I think if I was to put a sponge filter in this one, it would do better. And you can see there's a little bit of algae right there that I need to pull out. But yeah, I also need a haircut. My barber's been out of town, and the soonest I can get in is Wednesday, so my hair's out of control. How to breed Bosmani's rainbow fish. Usually you'll use a spawning mop, which is like a cork and a bunch of yarn. They'll lay their eggs in there. You take that and you put it in like another aquarium to raise up, and then you're going to use really small foods like maybe vinegar eels, maybe green water, APR, which is artificial protein rotifers, infusoria, and they take a long time to grow. Any updates and their fry? Any updates on the good-looking guppies and their fry from Guppy Train? That comes out Thursday. It's kind of my whole fish room tour type of thing. Primetime Aquatics says, for those of you looking at Aquarium Co-op's plant package, I can say this. They are awesome and worth every penny. Well, good. That is the goal. We honestly try to offer that on every package that goes out. So, there you go. Steenfoss says, I'll buy the plant package and do an unboxing. Yeah. I mean, that way you'll see exactly how they are. And if you but put into YouTube Aquarium Co-op unboxing, obviously you're going to see my videos, but you can see other people what they've unboxed, and, you know, I don't think I've seen a bad video yet. I mean, maybe there is, but, you know, if there is, they should contact me, because we try to make it right every time. What plants are good for high heat, 85 degrees, low light, and good with easy green? Asks Carlos. I've only tested a few plants in like discus temps, and that would be Bacopa caroliniana, which I don't think we have on the website itself, but it comes in our plant packs. Maybe I should work on that. So part of us getting more employees is that we can work on some of these things like, oh yeah, we should get that on there, and we just don't have it. I don't know if it is or isn't specifically on there, but that one does well. Moneywort typically does well. What else did I know does well? Vallisneria can do really well. Dwarf aquarium lilies and tiger lotuses can do well. Well, but the tiger lotus won't be low light. It's got to be low light too. Maybe some crypts. I mean, I've kept some crypts in some pretty hot temps before, but yeah, those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. If I get off camera and think about it some more, I might be able to come up with a few more. Amazon swords also. Yep. Well, not just Amazons, like any sword plant really, even micro swords. So. Lumpy Dog says, Easy Green made a cameo in my Sunday morning video. Well, thank you, Lumpy Dog. Flip Aquatics is here. Heyo. Corey, the Aquarium Co-op handtails are so amazing during water changes. I didn't know you had one, Flint. Oh, did I give you one when you came? Is that what happened? I don't know if I gave you one, but I do like them, yeah. I don't have any in here, I don't think, at the moment. But, yeah, I do love them. What's my average low temp in Washington during the winter? I don't know that answer. My guess would be like 34 degrees, but I don't know that answer. How do you get a blue tag next to your username? That means you're a moderator. And so that means usually they've been hanging out for a long time, or they're other YouTube creators. It's basically people that I could trust. It's not that if you don't have that I can't trust you. It's that I only make more mods when I need them. So currently I have a decent amount of mods in the live chat, and if I was ever to do when I didn't have enough, I would kind of, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but promote some people to do that job for me. We've also got Nightbot, which that's just a robot that, you know, loves to make people's lives horrible. Duckweed does well in high temps. I can believe that. Yeah. Ooh, what else do I have? We do Salvinia, water lettuce, and frogbit all in that high temps also. I'm mainly worried because I fell in love with Corey's Vesuvius sword. So I got a couple, and I don't want them to fail like the Val. Yeah, Vesuvius definitely likes higher light. Doesn't have to have CO2. We're not running CO2 on it, but yeah, it's a sword plant. Heavy root feeder. This past winter, Washington got bloody cold, -10s. I think it depends on what side of the mountains you're on. I don't remember being -10 really. Yeah, Washington State, not D.C., by the way. How do you breed baller sharks? No idea. I personally am a guy that won't keep baller sharks even at my store. Like, I won't sell them because I feel like they're too rambunctious for most people's aquariums, and they end up just beating up their face, running into glass and stuff like that. So I think it's funny that I made top 5 for commenting even with the timeout. Yay me. Nightbot, he's firm but fair. That's why we keep Nightbot around. He might not love you, but he'll give credit where credit's due. I have a lot of Java moss, yet I have had 3 female guppies for 2 months now and no fry. How do I stop the guppies in the tank from eating the fry? If they're eating them, feeding them better. But if you have like a canister, or not a canister, but like a power filter without a sponge on the intake, they're probably getting sucked in there. But otherwise, it sounds like your setup is pretty optimal. It's not butter, oh my god, says, just saying, $6.50 shipping for an Aquarium co-op sticker is kind of insane. I understand not many people just buy a sticker and just add it on to the shipping order, but still. Yep, so don't buy one. Literally, we're shipping hundreds and hundreds of packages a day. The fact that if we were to ship it for 40 cents, that slows the entire production line down and will cost us way more money. So my advice is, don't buy a sticker. Most times when you buy anything else on the website, we throw a sticker in anyway. But even on like t-shirt websites, stickers are $4 plus shipping still. And the reality is this. At $15 minimum wage, the time it takes for someone to pack up a sticker and sell it for $1.40 including shipping, I've lost money. So that's why we don't really want to ship just a sticker. And the thing is, if you buy just a sticker, we're still shipping at priority. So it's going to be there in 2 to 3 days, and it's going to cost us $6.50 still. We still ship it in the flat rate envelope. Boom, it goes out. Because, if you look at the warehouse, literally it's racks and racks and racks of different shipping materials, different computers, different shipping stations. And it's not as easy as like, oh, today I'm just going to mail a letter. It's, okay, we got to ship 300 packages by noon today, and all these people have to be doing their jobs, and when you do one thing out of the ordinary, everything comes to a screeching halt. And so that's why it seems really dumb to ship a sticker at $6.50, and yet if you buy $100 worth of stickers, we'll ship it to you for free. There's lots of ways to not take that beating of shipping, but there's no way for us to do it without just bringing the assembly line to a screeching halt. Gonna need some plants to set up the 46 boat front at the house. We'll need some advice here in a bit. That's a $10 super chat from Flip Aquatics, also known as Lup Diesel. You got it, buddy. We will make that happen. I will get some stuff shipped out to you once we go over it. By the way, I got some shrimp from Rob, and that unboxing will come out, I don't know when, but coming soon. Tazawa Tanks, $5 super chat. Went on store tours with Yan yesterday. You were right. Ocean Aquarium is cool. It is. Ocean Aquarium, I mean, there was a couple aquariums I didn't visit, but Ocean Aquarium was my favorite when I was in California so far. And I do look forward to going back because I really had fun in that store, and I like the natural aquarium he's got going. Corey, would you like some mealworms in the future? Because my turtle loves them, and your turtle might too. I don't know. I feel like I'm too lazy to feed the mealworms. Like, I've got so much frozen food that kind of gets given to me by wholesalers and stuff that I feed a lot of Gramaris and silver size and that kind of stuff to the turtles. So right now I'm okay, but in the future I might. I'm seeing here your live stream and watching my mystery snails breed. How long after they breed does it take for the female snail to lay the eggs? I don't know. I haven't watched that process, so I don't know if it's like 20 minutes later or if it's 2 days. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. Let's see. On your site, ordering bug bites. What do you think about them? The tropical fish version. I love the tropical fish version. In the next video, not the next video, but one of the videos this week, you'll see me feed them to my fish. I like it quite a bit. That fine granule one, I like it. The ones I don't like are I think this, well, it's not this one, but like, I like the bottom feeder formula. What I don't like about it, like this one, it's kind of chunkier. I like it when it's either a bigger stick or a smaller thing. So I didn't bring in this medium size because I didn't like it. And my rule for what I sell is I have to like it. Well, I have to like it or believe there's value in it. And so I could bring those in because I do believe there's some value in specific fish. But in general, if I'm going to take a risk, I'm only going to buy something I actually think. I actually think is good, I should say. Which, it's not that that's bad. I'm just, from my standpoint, you got to think about, So if I order 100 bottles of this, and we ship out 100 bottles this week, and 62 of the 100 people that bought them are disappointed with, oh, it's too big for my Tetras, that's 62 problems I just made in a week on a new product launch. So I go with what's the safest bets, what do I think most people want. I curate the selection we offer on our website on what I personally think is good. Because, yeah, this chunkier blend here, it might be okay for Corridoras, but it's going to fall between the cracks. You can see there. It's going to fall between rocks and stuff like that, and I would just rather have the bigger one. So it's one of those things that, like, I'd rather take one bite out of a sandwich or buy a whole sandwich, but I don't really need half the sandwich. And so I'm choosing not to carry that half sandwich size. Hey, Corey, when will we get to see the tanks behind you in detail? I think on Thursday, because I do my whole kind of fish room tour, and I stop in on both those tanks. So I think Thursday is when you got to wait to get those. Can I do a beta video one day? I plan on doing some beta videos. Really, I'm just waiting for life to calm down. I've got the house remodel. I've got a couple of surgeries coming up. I've got the big 800-gallon tank happening. I've got the new employee starting this week. And that, well, there's a few other things sprinkled in. But once that calms down, then yeah, I want to set up a couple beta tanks and give my opinions and my tips and things like that. I don't know that I'll necessarily keep them long term. I might give them away to people or something like that, like family members or stuff. But yeah, I kind of want to do some stuff over here and film it and give tips and advice. And I thought about doing it maybe all from a Petco or something where I had to drive there and get it. And, you know, be forced to use supplies everyone can get a hold of. And then maybe like, okay, you're using this. You could buy this online. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but long term I do plan to do some, yeah. Can you put Murphy in a pond over the summer? You probably could, but moving puffers makes me uneasy, so I wouldn't do it. Your discus likes the medium bug bites? Awesome. Because so far I had heard most people weren't having luck with the bug bites in their discus. Not that they're marketed for them, but that's good to hear. $5 super chat. Trying to teach my Graham comic goldfish care. Your grandma comic goldfish care. Any videos you'd recommend, or you could make one? Also, the Tetra Whisper EX filter, I think, 40 to 7 gallons. So you're trying to fix that filter. I would get an intake sponge on it. That would be one hot rod I would do. And then maybe sponges or bio rings in the back. Clean the impeller really well. I don't know what part of it's not working, but I would clean that and service that impeller really well. And then videos for like comic goldfish care. I would probably look on Solid Gold's channel. I don't know if they're on there. And I haven't done any real videos on specifically just goldfish care. I don't know. I'd have to Google and look myself. I don't know anything off the top of my head that's I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase, but Solid Gold would be a good place I would start. How do you breed glass cats in an outdoor pond? Whew, I have no idea. That is something way beyond me. They're not an easy fish to breed. Let's see. I just ordered tropical fish bug bites today. Super excited for my fish. All right. What's my favorite type of saltwater fish? I'm really in love with pajama cardinals and Banggai cardinals. I really want to breed those. But I think I could fall in love with quite a few. I like the cowfish, little box fish, I think, little cows. I want to play with seahorses at some point. I'm sure there's quite a few I could really fall in love with. But those are the ones like currently I really want to play with. Why my bristlenose pleco stopped breeding? Don't know. I would check water quality first and temperatures. I just had a betta die suddenly with pine coning, red lesions, and in a strange crooked position. I'm worried, sick about it being tuberculosis. How likely is it that? He was by himself for 2 years. I don't think it's tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, TB, usually it's going to get sicker and sicker over a very long period of time. If that took a very long, because he said suddenly. I don't think it's that. If I had to guess, I would say it's more like a kidney failure or liver failure, something like that, where it's like it basically became, poisonous, toxins building up in its system, and then made lesions. It's got sicklier, And I think that's way more likely than it being TB myself. But what's my favorite koi and why? My favorite koi are Shiro Utsuri. Well, that's not true. It comes down to color pattern, Shiro Utsuri, black and white. And then, like, scale pattern, I like Doitsu koi, which means they don't have any scales. And I think when you mix those two together, it's Kiromaru. But it's something different, I think. But those are my favorite. I've got a bunch of koi videos coming up. One on Tuesday, actually, is the first one. But, yeah, that's my favorite. I've got about a half an hour left. Do I like sea dragons, like the dragon nets and stuff like that? I think they're pretty cool, yeah. Aquarium salt, Melifix, or large water changes for damaged fins. Goldfish breeding mishap. For me, Nisi, if I had that, I would do a little bit of salt and the water changes, and I wouldn't change a bunch of water only if I needed to. So I would like get the water really good, put salt in it, and just let them recuperate. Would I ever put those awesome Japanese rice fish in my ponds? Yes, that is the entire goal. They are for sure going out. Hopefully I'm successful with them. Have I cooled off on feeding Rapashi? Nope. I still feed a lot of Rapashi. Yeah. We sell a lot too. Rapashi, like, is my go-to food for when I'm trying to breed Corridoras and plecos. And then I really like it to bulk up like clown loaches and stuff. How's the 800-gallon tank project going? I got to spend all week clearing out that room. It lands on Monday. And then the filming can start on building, well, not building, but setting it up and doing that kind of stuff. And so we're probably 2 or 3 weeks out from any kind of, well, I don't know any, but most of the video footage coming out. I still got to decide on some filtration and stuff like that, so. Hey Corey, I remember you said you used to keep oxalos. What type did you have? I had the GFP, so the glow ones. I had normal, like browns basically, and then I had leucistics. So pretty much a smattering of most of the ones available. Let's see. Please take a moment to like the stream. Sure, Dean doing the good work for me. Does New Eye Spectrum still make gel food? I wasn't aware they were making gel food. I don't know of that, so maybe not. Let's see. I can keep ponds all year round in Australia? Yep, that's half the reason why it's so hard to import a lot of stuff from Australia, because so much stuff can live, it can be, you know, a problem. So you got good and bad there. Why aren't my bristlenose breeding, and do you need an air pump for tubing? Do you need an air pump for tubing? If you're trying to get air in the tank, you would. Yep, you'd use tubing and an air pump. Why your bristlenose aren't breeding, it's hard to know. It could be too young, maybe you don't have male-female, maybe you have 2 different species and you don't know it, maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. Oh yes, John Zim says, I see Nightbot is advertising the podcast. So everyone, if you enjoy the podcast, tell John Zim thank you. He helps me with that. So I rely on you guys to help me with some of these things I can't find time for. So like when this is done, you know, basically someone's going to upload that to the podcast for me so I can finish like adding tags, description, all that kind of stuff to this video, and it's still ready like mostly on a Monday morning for people. But it's all volunteer work. And so, you know, I'm thankful, and I hope you guys are thankful to the people helping out in this community to make some of these things happen. Like, yeah, it costs me money to actually have the hosted service and all that, but it's the time that I don't have. And I was really bad about it. Like, oh, I'll upload 6 of them every 6 weeks as opposed to 1 a week so people could watch it. So, let's see. I'm head of a fish department at my store. I'm looking for really nice killifish to bring in. Any suggestions? My suggestions probably are don't bring in killifish. The average public have no idea what to do with killifish, and they see pretty colors, and they don't realize how they're going to keep them and things like that. But if you're going to bring some in, just bring in like gardener eye. That's going to be the most basic one to get people started on. What's the best parenting fish you can think of? I think crebensis are really good parents. So, yeah. For Cory cats, should I wait until I have a buildup of algae or not worry and supplement with algae? Well, Cory cats aren't algae eaters, so I wouldn't be waiting on that. I'd make sure your tank's like really well cycled and everything, but I would be feeding foods because they're not algae eaters. So, hey Cory, 2 of my cardinal tetras died with 1 hour of dosing Water Life Octozoan as directed. Any ideas why? I was dosing preventatively and they had no symptoms. I have no idea what Water Life Octozin is. I'm guessing that's a medication. I'm going to Google it real quick. But, yeah, the problem is people do this kind of stuff all the time where they start using medications preventatively, and then they're like, they'll get angry at me like, well, I just do what you do, and it didn't work. And it's like, well, you're using medications I've never used before. That's like saying you watch someone go to the doctor and they took medicine and got better, and then you say like, well, I'm just going to start trying medicines. Like, that's not a good a good thing to do. I'm not saying you're angry at me, I'm just saying it happens a lot. I'm trying to see if I can find what the active ingredient in this is. It looks like it's just metronidazole. So if it's just metronidazole, I would say probably what happened is those fish actually had internal tapeworms and they couldn't pass them, so it killed them. But within an hour? That seems really weird. Within an hour, it shouldn't be that quick. Like, they usually don't start pooping parasites that quick. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there for you, Margaret. My personal stocking ideas for 40-gallon open anything. Guppies. They do great in a 40 breeder and it looks super cool. Can you recommend any cool or rare Danios or minnows? I want to do a species tank with celestial pearl Danios, zebra leopards, and others. Would like some other suggestions. Get yourself some rainbow shiners. Those are super cool. Do you need an air pump for small outdoor ponds? In my opinion, yes. What rapashi are you feeding to plecos and cories for breeding? And will you do a video on artificial cory egg raising? I haven't done any videos on the actual raising of it. I've shown how to collect them and stuff like that. But typically, I don't artificially raise them because I'm too lazy. So I colony breed them. But I use the community rapashi is what I use most of. Because I'm feeding guppies. I'm feeding everything in my fish room. So all the blends are fairly similar. Except for a few of the like the pleco ones. Can albino cory catfish be bred in outdoor ponds with green water and algae to feed the fry till they take shrimp pellets? Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. You can breed them outside, but you probably need to be hatching out like live baby brine or microworms or something like that. But most corridors are bred outside. Not around you, but around the world, yeah. Have I ever attempted to breed Betta splendens? Nope. I have very little interest in breeding those guys, so I've never tried it. Ooh, that was a good one I could answer. How good is the Eheim Classic 1500 XL canister compared to the FX6? I own and use both, Zach, and for the price, maybe not even... Yeah, for the price, FX6 wins every time. Every time. If they're both free, I feel like I'd still take an FX6, but the 1500 is nice, but it's too expensive. So the FX6 is really a nice sweet spot, I think. Cory, I see water on top of my Fluval 206 where you pull the snap off the stop valve. How can I fix that? It seems like maybe your gaskets are going. I would get a little bit of like either silicone grease meant for gaskets or a little bit of cooking oil. Try to revitalize them. If that works, great. And then in the meantime, I would probably order new O-rings, basically, is what I would do. Replace those. You're probably good to go after that. Flynn says, eating a biscuit right now. Learned how to make them in cooking class at school, and now I'm obsessed. Now just pair that with some gravy, and you've got a great meal right there. Oof, I don't even know this fish. Can a natural Octofasciata breed with a pink one? What is that? It's missing... I have to look, because I don't know that scientific name. Oh, Jack Dempsey? Can a natural breed with a pink one? You can. In fact, you have to do that to keep the pink ones coming out. I think if you breed pink to pink, you won't get pinks. So I know, like the electric blue, you have to outcross it to a normal one for sure. But I've never bred any of the Jack Dempseys, so I couldn't tell you the specific genetics. Do I sell hybrids like blood parrots or flower horns? I don't. Mostly just because my clientele is into smaller fish. But I might be getting from one of my wholesalers, well, importers. I want to import an SRT, so super red Texas flower horn. I kind of want one of those. That's one of the few fish that I really wanted as a hobbyist. And even 12 years ago, they were $400 for 2-inch fry. And they've come down in price. I'm thinking maybe I could play with one of those. Hey Corey, I've got $1,000 to spend on a fish tank. What should I get? $1,000. I'd probably buy... I'd find someone to get you a 180-gallon tank. Well, is it just a tank, or it's got to be, you know, like filtration and everything? If it's just a tank, I would get a 180-gallon glass tank with a stand. Maybe a 125 if I got a good PetSmart deal. Maybe. Imperial Tropicals is selling Yellowtail ACI for $4.50, and for the next 2 hours about 10, so I can have free shipping. Yeah. Had a fish ruin in Anubias I have. What other plants do you recommend, or should I stop with live plants? Well, what kind of fish do you have? But in general, Anubias are pretty hardy, so if they're ruining that, it might be ruining them all. I was wondering if it's safe or possible to house fish in a plastic bin with a filter in it. Yeah, a lot of people do it. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's a little bit hard to see through there, but a lot of people do it, especially for quarantine and stuff like that. While white crusty stuff on the lid, mineral deposits, and can be washed off with hot scrubby sponge or some vinegar. Do not use soap. Correct, yeah. Best place to buy California blackworms? Besides my store, I would buy them from a company... Like, I would not buy them from California blackworms because they only ship FedEx, and FedEx is too slow. So I pay a company to go over there, buy them, and put them on a plane for me. So yeah, hopefully a local store can do that, and you buy it from them. Yeah. Is it possible to breed Florida flagfish in a stock tub? Yes. Would I say I like sump filters? I like above tank sumps a lot more than below, but below are okay too. Everything's got its place. Like, people always want to know, do you like it or don't you? It's all about the situation. Like, do I love a 10-foot tall, like, way-lifted truck? No. And then, like, oh, I bought a house in the mountains and my road's getting washed out every other year? I love a truck. You know, so it all depends on the purpose. Like, I wouldn't want to drive that truck to and from the airport tomorrow morning when I pick up fish, but if I need a lifted truck, then yes. But, like, if I was going to buy a truck tomorrow, I'd want, like, a lowered truck. I always think it's weird that people have these giant trucks. I'm thinking, if I was going to own a truck, I want the thing as low to the ground as I can, so when I'm lifting, you know, a dishwasher or something into the back of it, it's easier instead of like, oh, I got to get it up there. So, you know, I try to fit the thing to the purpose. And so, yeah, if a sump really makes sense on that tank, great. But I wouldn't, like, try to only do sumps because I only like sumps or I only like this. I take each thing I'm doing and go, what makes the most sense for this application? What makes the large sticks better than the medium chunks? So I assume you're talking about the bug bites. Well, in most tanks that have gravel and stuff, all of this is going to fall down in between the gravel, whereas the stick, being a larger stick, will sit on top. And then when it comes to plecos and stuff, they want to rasp on something bigger, not something smaller. And, yeah, personal preference. That's really it. Dirted pool filter sand tank thoughts. How can I have a planted tank with sand substrate? Watch the videos. Like, I myself don't like it because I don't like pool filter sand because you're a little bit fine. I like something a little bit coarser. And dirted tanks, I just find them to not give people the results they actually want. They do it because they think that's what they have to do. The reality is, in my opinion, a fertilized tank is a lot easier, a lot cleaner. You don't have to worry about fish digging. You've got a lot more options. And then people go, well, you've never done one. I've done plenty of them. Like, I was a hobbyist just like everyone else. I've probably done 10 or 15 different dirted tanks. And, you know, all I can say is proof's in the pudding. So now I own hundreds of tanks. And currently none of them use dirt. And you guys know that I pretty much do what I think is best for myself. And if I thought that was best, I would use dirt. But I'm not a big fan of dirt myself. And I don't recommend it for most people. And especially when people ask about what are my thoughts on it, that's like the first sign you shouldn't probably do it. And it's because you don't know enough to know the pitfalls and the gains you could get from that dirt. And so I would say do a lot more research, and then you'll know, like, oh, I either really want to do this or I don't want to do it. What's my favorite egg-laying, non-live-bearing fish to breed and why? White clouds, because I think they're way undervalued. They look good. They're cheap. They're super hardy. And they're pretty easy to breed. What plant package should I order from my store to escape a 29-gallon tank with very low light? If it's very low light, I would tell you to buy like either the goldfish or the African cichlid 8-plant pack. You're going to get mostly Java ferns, mostly Anubias, and then a couple of Vallisnerias. I think you'll do well for that. Can you say the name of the Hawaiian state fish? I don't know what it is, so probably not. What are good low light? What are good low to moderate light plants that will attach well to driftwood and be good? Good place for bettas to hide. Love your channel. And this chat made me sub too. Well, welcome to the channel, K Shomo. I would say Anubias, Java ferns, Bulbitis if you can find some. That's the African fern. Those are going to be the easy ones. Then you get into things like Hygrophila pinnatifida, which is not really low to moderate light. Buses, they're easy but not cheap. You can do those as well. Mosses, they're a little unruly though, but my go-to for sure, Anubiases, Java ferns, those are my go-tos. For someone who has never done a mini pond before, what would the perfect starter pack be? And I would like to end up selling whatever's in the pond. So I would get an air pump, a sponge filter, some dechlorinator, some basic plants, and some fertilizer. And then it depends on what you want to breed and what's going to sell. But like, let's say white clouds, no matter what, you could sell them off as feeders. Kind of same thing with guppies. You might be able to do some shrimp, stuff like that. But you got to see what's going to sell in your area. If you live in like African cichlid nation, then maybe you need to breed some Africans outside. So it completely depends on if you're going to sell them, you got to know you got to have a market for it because that's a lot. Let's see. Working on 2 Planet Tank projects right now. Thinking about going with Eco Complete. What do you think? I myself think Eco Complete is decent. You know, one of the best tanks I ever had was a tank for my grandmother where almost nothing ever got done, and Eco Complete really carried that Planet Tank. It always looked great. Fertilizing was very sporadic, things like that. So I'm a fanboy of Eco Complete, but you know, I might say work on one, see how you like Eco Complete. If you like it, do the second one that way. If you hate it, try something else. Like if I was starting 2 projects today, I would for sure do 2 different things. Why? Because I love to see the differences. So that's just me. Whether it's good or bad, I'd be going, what can I learn from setting both these up differently? My cherry barbs are breeding. Do they lay eggs every time they mate? They've been at it for a week. Yeah, so typically cherry barbs are going to spawn like every day. Yep, they're going to lay lots of eggs. They're going to eat lots of eggs. And yeah, I would say they're going to keep doing it. What pleco would you consider as underrated, inexpensive, great looking, and doesn't get too large? I would say albino bristlenose. Fit that for sure. When setting up a bog filter, what is the recommended water flow to volume ratio? That I don't know, Jay. I would want something pretty slow, but I don't know if there's like a formula like, let's say 100 gallons to every 1,000 gallons of water. But in general, slower contact time makes it more efficient. You wouldn't want it so slow that it scrubs it clean way before it gets to the other side of the bog. But even at 100 gallons per hour, at 100 gallons per hour, if you had a 2,400 gallon pond, that means all the water would go through that thing once a day. So yeah. What state is my store in? We're in Washington State. What's a good plant that goldfish will not eat, but is good for lower light? The best odds you got, Abby, would be Anubias and Java Fern. How small counts as a mini pond? I think, 300 gallons and under probably for mini ponds. Has anyone been able to breed clown loaches? Nope, it's never been done in captivity. Without injecting hormones and things like that. So never done naturally. Is it good to gravel vac each week on a goldfish tank? In my opinion, Reckless, you shouldn't need to vacuum the gravel because they should be doing that themselves, kicking up everything. But you should be doing water changes enough to keep nitrates low. And in your tank, maybe that's once a week, maybe it's every other week, maybe it's every 3 days. Testing would let you know, but I don't think you need to gravel vac much because goldfish are really good about churning that substrate for you. What was the first fish you kept and what housing was it in? It was penguin tetras in a 65-gallon aquarium. I think it's 15% for bog filtration. Well, that's like how much size the bog is, but I took that previous question to how much water to run through it. So proportionally, think about filtration. The more you had, the better. But it depends on the plants too. Like some plants are really good at fixing nitrogen while some aren't. So, what type of plants can I get cheap and don't need CO2 other than moss balls? Well, most plants don't need CO2. Like everything on my website doesn't need it. But as far as cheap goes, getting like a local club and getting cuttings from other people would be the cheapest probably. Hit that like button, folks, says Dwayne Kitchell. Speaking of which, Dwayne, you can have that. Became a moderator. If you haven't checked out Dwayne's channel, you should. They do a lot of kind of in-depth info on some stuff. I was watching his live stream just yesterday, so you can hang out. What's the biggest tank I've ever owned? Before the 800 gallon that's showing up would be 360 gallons. Then before that it was 340 gallons. Before that it was 305 gallons. So never done anything above 400. And this one will be 800 that's coming in. So. How to breed glow light tetras? I would look up breeding neon tetras. It's going to be really similar, I feel. I don't know specifically how to do glow lights because I've never needed to. They're so cheap wholesale that most people just buy them. What do we got? We got 12 minutes left. What do we got? Do I still do Skype for pay, and how does the hours work, like schedule-wise? Because I have a rough schedule, and so do you, though. So, Joel, I do the paid consultations. Typically, what happens is you buy one, then I email you, and we set up a time, and I try to work around your schedule. So, that's kind of why my schedule is so crazy, is because I try to work around other people's schedules, and usually, unless our schedules were the exact same, there's a time that works for both of us. Like, if you want to do it after this, we could do it right after this. If you want to do it before on Sunday, or you want to do it a different day, usually I can try and make some time. But at the same time, if you're like, well, I can only do it Wednesday at 12:15 to 12:45, like that's really in the middle of my workday, and I can't like not go to work and do that. But I could do it like before in the morning or after work, and usually I've never not found a good situation for both people so far. You could be the exception, but I try pretty hard to make it on your schedule. So, is a water pump or air stone better for circulation in a mini pond? I believe an air stone is. I live in Wisconsin. I want to do a mini pond for the summer. The temperature range gets around 60 to 78 degrees. What fish can I do? I would recommend watching my mini tropical pond presentation. It'll list a bunch of different options for you. You've got a lot. Lots of live bears, lots of minnows, lots of snails. You've got things like killifish. And you just got to find something you want to look at, and you want a bunch of at the end of the summer. But it'll go over all that for you. Can we use live chat for Murphy food? I'm not sure. You mean like donate food and he gets fed? If that's what you're asking, no, because I'm not at the store. So that couldn't happen. Corey, you should get a saltwater tank? Maybe someday. To reach 600 viewers? I don't know how many we have right now. We have... My brain doesn't work. Oh wait, right now we got 585. It says the biggest amount we had, this one was 633, which isn't bad. It's Mother's Day. It's hard to get everyone's grandma watching when it's Mother's Day. Let's be real. Today I started a mini pond. It's a 10-gallon container with a sponge filter. Seems to work well. Awesome. Just keep an eye on the temperatures and don't put it out too soon. Zach's tanks is correct. Egeria densa, which is anacris, will fill an 80-gallon tank within 6 months, so it is a cheap plant. True. I don't think about that plant because it's illegal in my state, but yes, anacris and elodia both are very easy and fast-growing plants, but can be illegal in a lot of states. Am I planning to continue to import large fancy goldfish? Yep, I still import them. About how much money and time did it take you to get your wonderful shop going? It took about 5 months building and $100,000 in cash. That got me started. But if you watch the whole talk on how to start the fish store, you'll see that only got the first phase of it done. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Does anyone have any recommendation for what filter I should use in a 30-gallon high Imperial Tiger Pleco tank? I want to breed them. I would probably use I'd probably use like a Fluwell 406. High flow, a lot of capacity. Rooster TV, $5 super chat says Corey, or no, it doesn't say Corey. Says, can I breed assassin snails and rams in the same tank? Will assassin snails bother the eggs and fry? I think they will. The trick to get them through that is leave the light on. The parents will guard the eggs, but it's stressful on the parents. So I would put them between 2 different tanks if you can. There's something about saltwater tanks that make me not be into them as I am in freshwater. Probably the blue light on the salt tanks make them look fake. Yeah, but you don't have to use blue light. I just think they're different, and, right now I'm not doing it. I know it's pie time. My dinner is always cold because I adhere to this schedule. So I fell in love with a sweet-faced Oranda at PetSmart yesterday, but he had a large anchorworm waving at me from the base of his dorsal fin. Yep. I mean, I think you should treat everything you buy, whether you're seeing an anchorworm or not. But yeah. Just checked your site and love the Murphy camera. Clever. Yep. We're going to set up another camera. I've got that camera right here on the 800-gallon tank when we set it up. So there'll be 2 live cameras going. Any info on the Madaka rice fish? Finally got some. They carry their eggs on their anal fin, deposit them on plants. Can go really cold water, or cool water, I should say. And, yeah. Otherwise, do some research. But you'll see me playing with some outside. Not just the Madaka, but some more of the like colored variants, I guess. I have 2 clown plecos. One is normal and healthy. The other is eating well, but the colors on it are so light, almost white. Is my fish okay? If they're in the same tank, one's probably dominating the other one, and so it's trying to turn its color off so that it doesn't get dominated as much. LG3 Nation with the super chat. Sorry I'm late. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms watching and to all the mommy fish in the aquarium fish world and all the male seahorses. True that. All right. Trying to find any advice for growing lobelia. Mine is growing, but only green and very leggy. Low light tank using Easy Green and Seachem iron. You need insane amounts of iron for lobelia. So that's the cardinal plant. With crazy highlight and lots of iron, you can make it almost purple, but most people just grow it green. And even I really struggle with that plant. Lots and lots and lots of light. And then when you think you have enough light, double it. And that might be enough. I feel like people struggle with that plant, myself included. Corey, have you ever kept African ropefish? Yep. Do they usually hide a lot? They can. You know, they come out a lot more when it's time to eat, but a lot of times they like to sit in the weeds, so to speak. Looking to import fish, wondering if I ship to Canada? I do not ship to Canada. Nope. Kimberly J says, can you keep Congo spotted puffers together, or are they better by themselves with community fish? So I have 3 at the store and only 18 gallons, and they're a little bit territorial because I think the tank is so small, but they haven't really eaten each other's fins or anything like that. And I haven't had them in my own personal care long enough to go, oh yeah, 3 work great in a 55 or anything like that. So it's all me guessing so far. But usually puffers would really be chewing each other up in that small of a tank with 3 of them. So I suspect they can do okay in a group in a larger footprint. But, you know, you'd have to try it out and have a backup plan because I haven't done it. Do I have any tips for someone just getting into the hobby? My biggest tip would be do what you want to do and keep the fish you want to keep. Most people keep fish that other people say are cool instead of you keeping what you think is cool. So if you think penguin tetras are the coolest fish you've ever seen, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Penguin tetras are super cool. And a lot of people fall into, well, everyone keeps that fish. I want to keep something different. The reality is everyone's keeping that fish because everyone thinks it's really cool. So when fish are really common, that's usually a good fish for a new person to keep because 1, they like it. 2, it's probably not that aggressive. It's probably got a lot of color. It's probably cheaper than a rarer fish. And it's easier to look up and get advice on common fish. So that's what I would say. Let's see. So Seth says, hey Corey, don't have any questions this week, but I had a long week and listening to the stream while I do water change has been a godsend. Thank you for always coming through on the streams. I try to keep stuff as consistent as I possibly can so that people can plan their schedules around it because I can't stand when my schedule changes. I hate it. So I try to keep, because I like routine, and I try to keep it that way for everyone. Myself included. Makes it easier for me. Let's see. Edwina says, I removed the anchor worm and put them in quarantine tank with your 3-med cocktail and feeding Rapashi and duckweed. Anything else I can do to help the little guy out while I observe him? I would say that's it. Maybe a little bit of salt, but because you brought him home, took the one you could see off, you broke a lot of the cycle, and if that was the only worm he had, you might have broken it. But if you had some small ones, they might still grow up, and then you might have to do some treating for anchor worm. But because anchorworms kind of have to fall off, find a new host, that type of thing, you might be in the clear on that. So I would just, lots of observation like you're doing. Let's see. What fish are okay to keep with cory cats? I would say most community fish. So tetras, rasboras, guppies, most live bears, gouramis, angelfish. Wide assortment, really. I recently purchased 2 rams, 1 male, 1 female. One doesn't seem to be eating. Any ideas what to do to bring them around? If they're like German blue rams, make sure the temperature is at least like 82 degrees. Otherwise, deworm them. If you haven't kind of put them through quarantine yourself, there might be some internal parasites from keeping them from eating. Look into that. Am I adding more fish to the store online because all I see are snails? Nope. We are not planning on adding any fish anytime soon. Might add some more snails soon, though. Some different types. Thoughts on seeding outdoor tubs with lake and or pond water? You can probably do it. I seed them with aquarium water, but you get a lot of like living organisms out of the ponds and lakes. But you could also introduce more parasites and stuff, which I might just be more fearful than I need to be. But yeah. Does aquarium salt kill beneficial bacteria? Depends in the strength of the salt. Most mild strengths, no. Can you mix angelfish with neon tetras? Depends on the tank setup, depends on how big each one, depends how you're feeding. I can, but there's a lot of people that also struggle with that, so it's kind of a yes and no answer. Can I put silver dollars with African cichlids? It can be done, yeah. I've done it before, just like I've done rainbow fish with African cichlids, but it depends on what type of African cichlid, what type of tank setup, what type of diet you're doing, all those types of things. What am I doing for heating in the 800 gallon? Mostly heating the entire room like I always do, and then probably maybe some backup heaters to heat it up, because I might want to keep my clown loach to 85, which I don't keep the rest of the room that. Alright, it's 7 o'clock, my dinner's ready, time for me to go, and so yeah, make sure you check us out next week. We've got videos coming out this week, but we're going to have the live stream again next Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. We've got Phoenix lights on sale. Use the code PhoenixSale for 15% off. The lava rocks are 20% off until midnight tomorrow night, I think. And don't forget to go and get your Fish Fam and Taco Union and Aquarium Co-op ornaments and your towels and all that kind of good stuff. It's because you guys buy stuff from us that I can sit here and do this for you guys, and that we can have employees at the store, and everyone kind of makes their way through the world. So thank you to you guys, and we'll see you next weekend. Thanks for watching.